All right, we should be live. Hey everyone, it's Voga the Cry here, and I hope you're all doing amazing. So first of all, can you please let me know if you can actually see me and hear me so we can actually kick things off? I see people are already joining, and we got quite a few people registered. So that is awesome. I'm looking right now. I see people joining already. So yeah, let me know if you can hear me, if you can see me, and we will get started. It's going to be a good day today, a good session. I'm actually really looking forward to it. So first of all, I'm going to wait to confirm. Yes, I see Marcus saying yes. Michael Terbes, hey. Julie, good morning. Oh, wow, there's a lot. Kyle, Rick, John, Tyrus, Alfred Xavier, Sean, Dog, Bradley, Mo, Deborah, Wald, Keaton, Tyrus, cool, Paul, a lot of people are joining. Hey, everyone. It's good to see that everyone is joining. And for those who've been here before, I think you probably know, like, I like to just dive straight into it, not spend too much time on the chit chat and all that, because I know all of our time is precious. I do want to say that I hope everyone is safe and sound and healthy, obviously, in these times. They're obviously weird times. So thankfully, thanks to the internet, we can still meet and we can be together with my favorite customers, all of you who have access to Connect Suite. So again, this is exclusively for you guys. So please do not share any link with anyone else. And yes, we will record this. We'll put the recording inside your login, inside the dashboard tomorrow. Inside, if you go to Learning Center inside the Inner Circle area, you'll find the replay of this call tomorrow. So why am I organizing this call with all of you? Why have I invited you for this workshop? Now, obviously, like the world, there's a lot going on in the world, right? And everyone is suddenly changing, and there's things like there's a lot of emotion going on, and a lot of businesses right now are struggling. Like if you have a restaurant, it's tough, right? A lot of different businesses have to pivot, they have to do things differently. And what I've noticed is that quite a few people ask me, like, hey, should I turn off my Facebook ads? And funnily enough, quite a few people did actually. Quite a few people did turn on the Facebook ads, and that's why I think right now I know there's actually a major opportunity when it comes to Facebook ads, especially during this time. But if you don't know how to react, if you don't know like what's working best, it can still be kind of be a struggle, like what to actually do. And I wanted to make sure that all of you, my customers, you know exactly what to do. And I could tell you what I can, from my own experience, but I thought like right now we need to have this based on data from like multiple accounts. So I started looking to see if I can find someone who's managing a lot more ads for multiple clients, because that way you'll have a better view of like what's working, what's not right now, like during this COVID-19 crisis. And that's why I've invited, let me just, I think you are here on audio already, right? Nehal Kazim, are you
Yes,
here?
sir.
Awesome. So Nehal Kazim, I think you're spending $800,000 a month on ads, right?
Correct.
Wow, like that's like, guys and girls, like can you imagine 800,000, almost $1 million in ads? So that's a lot of data points. And he's not just doing that; he's also learning others about it. Like for example, he's actually speaking at Traffic and Conversions later on. He's been working with Molly Pittman. He's been working with Digital Marketer, and he's actually actively working with 7- and 8-figure direct-to-consumer e-commerce brands as well. So that's why I invited him, and I'm going to actually pass the word to him because he's going to share to us like what is his 5-step execution plan to adapt to COVID-19. All right. Let me know
Awesome.
if you're excited. In the chat, say I'm excited, and I'm going to shut up now, and I'm going to let Nehal Kazim know you're talking.
Awesome. So thank you so much for that, and thank you for bringing me on here. So I see people from all over, Dubai, India, Amsterdam, Montreal. I was raised in Toronto, so Taiwan, Germany. This is amazing. So thank you so much for inviting me, Wilco, and for everyone here. There's hundreds of people on here, so I appreciate you guys being here. So this is the 5-step execution plan to adapt to COVID-19, and just a a warning from my standpoint, and just so I'll give you some context here as well. But this is going to be a no BS training. This is not. I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. I'm here to be very direct with you. And the reason is out of respect, because there's a lot of people who are having some of their best months ever, record-breaking months, and they're doing really, really well. but a lot of people are without a job or trying to figure out how to support their family and trying to figure out how to create a new career for them if they are switching. So out of respect, I'm just going to be very direct with you on telling you what we're seeing in terms of what's working, what's not. And if you are spending money or you're spending a lot of it, you might feel called out or uncomfortable at points, and there's a purpose for that. And I'll show you why that's important, because I'm going to give you audits and questions to ask yourself in this moment to see how you're actually reacting, so you can get a reflection of what's working for you. It doesn't matter what's working for me or someone who's having record months or anything like that. It's specifically what's important and what's going on in your business. And so we're going to talk about what it takes to lead and control your environment based off of what's actually in your control. And this is not meant to be what you want to hear. It's what you need to hear as a media buyer and as a business owner. So here's the reality, and we don't really need to go into this. It's very clear how serious this is. This is the start of, this is a pandemic, and there's a lot of data on from a business standpoint what the impacts will be from an economy standpoint. Economies are collapsing, industries are collapsing, and how we work and how we live is changing. But most importantly for us, it's impacting how customers buy. And as a media buyer, as a business owner, that's something that's very important, because sales, and especially new customers, are the oxygen of your company. So what does that mean? What that impact is truly is the transformation of behavior. So what is important to your dream customer today versus 30 days ago or 60 days ago? What are they prioritizing or reprioritizing right now? Because they might not be looking for specific types of products or services anymore. Their priorities are changing. And how they're making decisions today is changing, how they're looking at their future with this level of uncertainty, what they're consuming in terms of content, information, different brands, and what time of the day they're buying. Things are fundamentally changing. And so you're going to get access to this PDF and this slide, but you'll see that there are different tools that people are saying that here are specific, monitoring tools that are giving the insight on markets of what's working, what conversion rates are. So there's one called Within, there's another one called Ship Bob, and so they're explaining some of the metrics. At the end of the day, what's changing for your market, because you can use tools like these, and you'll get access to this document, but at the end of the day, it matters about your market. And so that's the focus today. What's going on in your business? What's going on with your existing customers, and what's going on with your prospective customers? Because there's a big difference. When it comes down to priorities, what do you actually focus on in your business? And then how do we look at this 5-step plan on how to implement? And the reason we're focusing on your business is because every market is reacting differently. There's not like a mass market thing that everyone's just spending less. I think that's a big myth right now. So, and I'll talk about some of the reactions that we had to go through and some of the challenges we had, because this is all very real. For when it comes to like what happened on Facebook and performance numbers, that really started about 2 weeks ago for us, and around March 13th, March 15th. And immediately the performance like took a real nosedive. And so for us, it was specifically March 12th, that Thursday, that made a difference. But we have different types of products, and I just want to make sure, if you're doing advertising right now, there are people spending more money than they've ever spent before. They're making more money than they're ever spent before, or making more money than they've ever made before, and they're more profitable than they've ever been. So please don't look at the doom and gloom as a reason not to spend money on advertising, or for people aren't buying, or any of that. So we're going to talk about what the levers are and what the 5 steps to actually focus on in your business right now when it comes to decision making. So again, some of the things to consider is markets are different depending on your average order value, of how someone might be buying a $20 product versus 200 versus 2,000 versus 20,000. Of course, it's different. And so, you have to react accordingly. The type of customer, the product type, there's a lot of different things to consider. Obviously, I can't cover every one of them. There's too much variability, but we're going to talk about how to actually operate from this place. So quick context about me. So my name's Nehal, and we run a Facebook ads agency. It's called adpros.com. We work primarily with seven-figure direct-to-consumer subscription companies. So what that means is if there is a subscription product of some sort, and if there is no retail, it goes direct to the consumer. So there's hundreds of these types of companies now, thousands, and it all comes down to the brand, the quality of the product, and the specific unique market that they're going after, ideally mass market. And so we work with seven-figure companies, and we scale them to mid-seven figures to 8 figures. And so we're spending $800,000 a month or so in ads, and we have a superstar team of 10 people. And so, where I started was we were managing from very little money in terms of, $10 a day. And the way that my path has been, how do we keep focusing on increasing how much we're spending, to work with people who are obsessive about, scaling the front end of their company so the rest of their team and their business can focus on back end profits. Our responsibility is to grow front end advertising. And so, like Wilco mentioned, I've trained media buyers at masterminds like for Molly Pittman and Ezra and a lot of other people. And I've done a training with Digital Marketer at their offices, as well as I'll be speaking at TNC this year. I got delayed to December, so hopefully I will see some of you guys there. And and obviously thanks to Wilco, I'm here to train you guys. So through this process, with everything going on with COVID-19, like we're learning a lot. And I think the good place to realize is like it's exposing the truth about a lot of things. And so for us, it exposes the truth of like your resilience as a leader, as a marketer, your ability and your team's ability to solve problems, yours and your team's ability to make difficult decisions, how you're making decisions under distress as well. That's important, and it's exposing that, whether you make them or not, or how you make them. Your commitment to your family, your team, your clients, your customers, of how you actually react. Who has your back and doesn't? So, we saw even in my team, people mentally check out. And I've checked out, honestly, at times, because it's a difficult time of being in quarantine, lots of, habits and routines changing, and it does take a toll. And part of that is how you handle emotions and what emotions you're feeling during this time. I think it's very easy to ignore that sometimes. So that's why I just want to make sure that it does expose the truth of what's going on. So it's right now more than ever, it's more important what you actually focus on. And so what we're focused on are real numbers. So we're focused on 3 types of metrics in our business, and we're going to go through some of this, but I would look at these 3 types of metrics in in your business right now, which are totals, meaning total number of clicks, total number of add to cards, total number of purchases, total number of revenue, that kind of thing. Then bottom line of what's working versus not working, and what do we actually know, data. And we're going to get into the actual 5 steps, but I want to make sure you guys are looking at the truth and at all your data objectively, because right now it's very easy to be emotional. It's very easy to make decisions that aren't sound fundamentally or from a business standpoint, especially if your market is reacting very heavily and you're not getting new customers or something is happening significantly in your business. So I just want to make sure we're all dealing with it. It's very important to look at data and not just react emotionally. So here is the 5-step plan. Here are the 5 major levers that we're seeing in our business that is making the biggest difference on actually spending, recovering our campaigns, as well as actually scaling accounts. So we're actually scaling campaigns right now. It's not just out of survival mentality. So I'm going to go through all of these one by one, and specifically questions you can ask and implementation that you're going to be making based off of what we're talking about today. So before I start, please be gentle with yourself. This is a difficult time, and it's very easy as I speak with different media buyers and business owners to really beat yourself up. So I just want to make sure that as we're going through this, there's a lot of things that we don't know. Anything could happen tomorrow, and I just want to make sure that you're being gentle with yourself as we're going through this. This is not about judging how good or bad things are. This is like objectively about what is working and what is not. Okay. So um, first step is urgency, okay? So here are the 4 types of media buyers that I'm seeing right now. So the first one is the rapid problem solver who implements super quickly, and I'm talking about 24 hours from idea to execution. That's number 1. Number 2 is there's a person who's making a slower analysis, slower decision, slower implementation, and that's about 5 days or so from idea to execution. Next is little to no analysis. There's a little decisions, like few decisions being made and a little bit of implementation, and there is a bit of freezing. And the last one is apathy. And the conversation I've heard is basically, what's the point? Like campaigns are gonna fail, and like no one's spending. Things are really hard right now. And again, this is not coming from a place of judgment. This is just what I've been experiencing with different media buyers. And so on your guys' end, if you could let me know in the chat, where are you, honestly, from these 4 when it comes to how you're reacting on Facebook advertising in your business? So let me know in the chat, are you a 1, 2, 3, or 4? And the reason this is important, because this influences every single thing that is going to happen for the next steps that we're talking about. So I see 1s, 2s, 3s. Awesome. And so Tabrez actually put 1 to 5. And so that's a really good point, because I have seen myself go from, being super rapid implementers to like kind of being in a shock state sometimes where I'm just trying to understand what the different steps are. I think it's very difficult to be in this superhero mode, and that is definitely not the expectation. Great. Thank you guys for being very honest in this process. So because this is important for everything else we're going to be talking about, because where do you spend most of your time? Are you focused on rapid implementation? And rapid implementation, honestly, the way that we had to react as soon as the campaign started going downhill. So I'm just looking at the calendar. It was March 12th where it started. March 14th, 15th, that weekend, things got really bad for us. And March 16th, we had an emergency meeting with every single client, every single account on our roster, and we went into this mode. And being in this mode all the time is very hard, and it's possible. I think it also can lead to burnout and also making bad decisions sometimes because you're too focused on just like getting anything out and doing it super quickly. So on our side, we were in this mode out of desperation, out of urgency, out of performance. And I want to show you some of the things that we're seeing just from a number standpoint. But this is the state that we started in. And the reality is, like, some decisions do take time, but where there's this like spectrum from being rapid execution where you're making decisions same day within 24 hours. Like what we were able to do is we had an emergency meeting with each client. Then we had an internal meeting about copy and creative. Then we had new creatives, like from a graphic design standpoint, created within 24 hours. We actually had it created within 4 hours, so we could schedule it at night for the following day. We had about 20 different copy variations created within the same day, almost per client. It just depended on what was important for them, up to 20. Some of them required 4 or 5. And then our media buying team was able to set up campaigns to launch the next day. That was out of necessity. What we're seeing is there is a bit of shock of that's going on here because there isn't enough information on what to do next, what to prioritize, and what to focus on. Okay, and so that's what we're going to talk about in the next 4 steps of what to actually focus on. Because when things get hard, that's when it's very important, with all the resources Wilco has, with all the software that you have access to, and what we're going to be talking about right now, you'll be able to take the next 4 steps with urgency, and you decide how quickly you want to implement. And so this is really important. Take a screenshot of this, okay? These are the biggest decisions that we're seeing right now, and we're going to get into the granular, like the 4 that are important at a higher level. But when it comes to urgency and speed, these are the decisions that we're seeing. So the first is speed of analysis. So how frequently are you doing this? For some media buyers that we've been speaking to, this is happening like in a pretty long interval, like 2 to 3 days, every 2 to 3 days. The reality is that you have to be in accounts right now more than normal, just because you don't know what's going to happen in terms of instability, or when things are working, or just having a pulse of what's actually working. And so right now, more than ever, this is really important, of just having a pulse of when people are buying. Because as you saw in the behavior, one of the things that that we're seeing is there's different times people are buying. So normally, you know, my best days were Wednesday or Thursday, or Friday and Saturday, or Monday was my best day. All of that really isn't happening for us right now, because the time of day people are buying is changing. The day of the week that they're buying is changing. So it's just something to consider when it comes to the analysis. But from idea to sometimes it's an analysis to idea to development. In other cases, it's just idea analysis development. But in this, how quickly are you changing your targeting? How quickly are you changing your budgets? And the decision is basically scaling, slowing down, or pausing your spend. How quickly are you changing copy or creative? And we're going to talk about this shortly. But if you have a different offer or need a different offer, how quickly are you doing that? And then this is one that has honestly surprised me the most, which is how quickly are you doing internal meetings if you have a team? So I saw a delay. So just to give you context, like on the, I think it was the 15th of March, or sorry, 16th of March, which was a Monday, we had emergency meetings with everyone, and we already had implementations and campaigns scheduled for the 17th at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and 6 o'clock in the morning Eastern, just so we can implement. And some of the media buyers I was speaking to, they didn't have an internal meeting until the Friday or Thursday of that week. So they lost, I would say, anywhere between $20,000 to $40,000 that week, and there was just no urgency. You see what I mean? So the speed of internal meetings is very important when it comes to communication with just internally, if you have an agency, with the client, or just with everyone on the team, so they know what is going on. And that became really important for us, because everyone needed to know the pulse of what's going on, and every single day the campaigns were changing. So you have that, and then speed of coordination and feedback. So copy takes time, creatives take time, adjustments or research an audience sometimes takes a lot of time. And so the speed of coordination, we were doing turnarounds within 30 minutes to an hour max. And you know, that really helped our implementation too. So again, if you haven't taken a screenshot of this, of course, you'll get the access to the PDF. But these are the questions to ask. And I would rate yourself, if you want to do it 1 out of 3, if it's very quick, or normal speed, or slow, just so you can analyze what is it that you can improve. Maybe you have a bottleneck for a copy standpoint, because maybe you're not good at it, or your copywriter is slow, or whatever the case is, or you're not good at creative and you need help with that, and the turnaround time is too slow. And so there's going to be different bottlenecks. You just have to figure out what that is. Okay. So again, I just want to make sure there are different ways to react. Which way are you reacting? And you can do a self-assessment here and look at ways that where some of your gaps might be, just so you can get honest feedback from yourself on what to improve. Okay. Next, this is honestly one of the biggest levers. So urgency is important. It's the underlying thing to understand of how to actually implement anything or any changes in your business. Now, this is the biggest lever when it comes to everything that we're seeing. And I know Wilco and I will be talking about this near the end as well. But when it comes to the one element, one factor that is making the biggest difference in profitability, it is changing the offer. And the reason is because right now, what I was mentioning when it comes to the behavior, and I'll go back up here, what is important to a dream customer, existing customer, or a prospective one is changing. So you have to adjust with that. And we're going to talk about adjustments from a creative standpoint, but you have to adjust with what is important to your customer right now. How are they making those decisions? What are they looking at and considering when it comes to the future? And from the people that they're consuming content from, what are they saying? And how is that influencing all of the decisions that they're making, right? So when it comes to the offer, notice that I didn't put media buying as number one. Like, you know, this is a Facebook ads training. I didn't put Facebook ads as number one or number two. Why? Because the adjustments from a Facebook advertising standpoint are just technical. They're just going to fuel everything that you're going to be doing. And we're going to talk about Facebook ads, obviously, right now as well, of media buying decisions. But from an offer standpoint, this is really, really important. I'm going to show you an example as well. So if you have multiple offers right now might be the time to actually change which one that you focus on. Because one of the things that I'm seeing is that you can't, if you have multiple offers and you're running all of them at the same time and all of them aren't hitting KPIs, like, it just doesn't make sense to run them. Be very vigilant and prioritize which offer is the right offer for Facebook ads in terms of cold traffic. And I'm going to give you an example right now. But we have a client that has about 20 different products. Before, we were just running one specific product as the main way to grow their business. They do well above mid seven figures in their business. And it was one core product that leads to all the other products in their business. And we're going to talk about what that change for them was. But for you, when it comes to your business, choose one offer instead of multiple right now, because that is usually going to make the biggest impact when it comes to which offer is working. So, you know, if anything happens with fulfillment or 3PLs or Amazon, like, you'll have to make some adjustments. If you have physical products and can add a digital element to it, now's the time to test that, and now's the time to look at different positioning of the same of like complementary products and bundling, because that's one of the things that we're seeing. That's one of the things that we're seeing that actually have an impact of conversion rates. Then when it comes to physical and in-person offers, obviously that is a big challenge right now for everyone. And so people are getting very creative here. And if your business allows, of course, like, digital offers are super important. And if that makes sense, obviously, in your business. If your high ticket offers are not converting, I know we're doing an affiliate deal with a client in the Spanish space, and they just had one of their best months that they've ever had because of everything that's going on right now, and they have a high ticket offer. And so that's just something to consider. So it's time to get creative. So let me give you an example of what is going on for a client of ours. So one of our clients has a pre-workout as their main offer. And obviously, in a pre-workout, that is a big challenge, because if you're consuming pre-workout at home, like, you're just going to get really hyped up and going to go crazy, jump off the walls. But the interest in pre-workout is obviously dropping. So when in mid-March, buyer behavior started shifting, we had to start shifting as well. And so thankfully, they had an immunity product, and they shifted focus. You'll see in the example here, in some of the metrics. So this is about a 2-week period as we started testing. So they spent about $90,000 per month. And as we started testing, you can see that with about 12,000, the return on ad spend for top of funnel was 197%. So what we do is we do front end growth for back end profitability. So for these guys, the target is break even on top of funnel is 180%. So if we're at 180%, that is good just for that segment. This product is doing about 200%. It was doing even higher for different periods of time, but just no BS. Just the average of that full last 2 weeks has been about 200%. Middle of funnel, bottom of funnel is 450% ROAS, and of course they have email and stuff that Facebook's not reporting. But the point is that just the adjustment from pre-workout that we started seeing the performance immediately nosedive as people are at home and they can't get access to equipment and different products. And so what they started doing is they started testing the immunity product. That started working well, but they're also combining an at-home training program as a digital offer, combining that. And so our journey was we took a pre-workout to a immunity product, and then we tested immunity product with a bundle with a digital program, and then we tested all different types of creatives, images and videos, in order to figure out what is it that's actually working. Notice that the first decision is actually an offer decision. Then there was media buying decisions, and then there were creative decisions that help get it to 200%, which is success for them. And now we're ready to scale. And so for you, if you're looking at your business and have not made any adjustments on a offer standpoint, that might be the biggest lever in your business. If you're not able to make an offer change, meaning there's some challenge with fulfillment, there's some challenge with the actual type of products that you have, or limited inventory, or whatever real limitation there is, then it is what it is. But if you're able to make adjustments from an offer standpoint, right now is the time to make it. So, and yeah, just looking at the chat here, Tabarez. So health is definitely difficult, and compliance is very difficult. And right now health is very hot in some spaces. And so pre-workout is not one of those spaces where people are very interested in buying. And so that's the adjustment we had to make. So my point of showing all of this is figuring out what adjustments that you can make when it comes to so far urgency as well as the offer in your business. Next are media buying decisions. So what's working versus not. So here's what we're seeing. We're seeing that the actual CPM has dropped 20 to 40% in the last 2 weeks. Now, just because the CPM has dropped, the reason, first of all, the CPM has dropped is because more people are on Facebook. They're on for a longer period of time. That means that there's going to be even more impressions available that are getting served from a Facebook ad standpoint on Facebook. And on top of that, more people are spending less on the platform. So the CPM is decreasing that significantly depending on the market that you're in. We've seen some markets that it's only decreased 10, 15% on the very, very low end, but usually it's 20 to 40. And for most of those accounts, it is leading to a lower cost per click because it's just directly correlated to the CPM. We have one case that's higher, but most of them are lower CPCs. But the challenge with that is that the click-through rate for a lot of our campaigns has dropped at the link level, and conversion rates have dropped. So the thing to look at on your account is what is the drop at the CPM level, and then what is the drop at the conversion rate level to see what the impact is on your specific campaign. And so here are the questions to ask. So take a screenshot of this. Again, you're going to get access to this, but take a screenshot of this. So the first question is, are you profitable, or are you hitting the metrics that you need to? And the two metrics are specifically on profit, or return on ad spend, that you need on a Facebook level of what's going on inside of Facebook, as well as what's going on in real life. Because of course there's a lag or a gap between what's happening on Facebook and real life. So that's the first question. Okay. then what's the number one, basically the one offer that's working? So to, the example I gave here, we have pre-workout, we have 18 other products, except the thing that we're actually focused on is the immunity product to get everyone else to get and consume the rest of the products. And so this does have an impact on the avatar and the type of person we attract. So we're going to see the implications or potentially the consequences of that, 90 days from now, and see how that works. But it's a decision that the company needs to make, because that is the one offer that's working really well. Then what is or are the avatars that are working? So I'll give you an example here. We just brought on a new client in the health space, and they have products like supplements for children. And for them, they have different avatars. So I'll give you like the spectrum of avatars. There's the mom to be who's pregnant, but who hasn't has the child yet. So she might be stocking up. Then there's the mom who has the child from who was just born to 12 months. Then there might be from 1 year to 3 years. And then there's everyone else. And so when you look at the avatar, how we speak to the moms to be or the new mom is very different to how we would speak to a mom who has a 6-year-old or an 8-year-old or a 12-year-old. And so the way that we're looking at it, we decided that we want the proactive mom. We want the mom who might be in a buyer frenzy, and a mom who wants to buy a evergreen product instead of a reactive product. So those are all the decisions that we made at the avatar level that affect everything else that we're doing from an offer standpoint, bundles, etc. So the question to ask is, which avatar are you marketing to right now? And does that need to change at all? Because if you were, for example, in the example I gave with pre-workout, if you're looking at the marketing to the person who's actively in the gym and looking to get gains and increase their intensity of their workout, now the intensity of their workout at home is minimal, and their priorities are changing, and they care about immune system and not getting sick and not losing their gains. And so that's something to consider as you're going through this. Okay. Next is, what is the account structure that's working right now? So is it CBO or ABO? And a lot of people are actively trying to crack CBO right now, because that's where things are going, and they're struggling with profitability and ad spend. But if you look at the way that we're doing our campaigns, you can see ABO versus CBO. You'll see that almost across all of our accounts, ABO is working better. So we're doing primarily ABO right now, and if you don't know the difference, it's ad set budget versus campaign level budget. So basically, are you setting the budget at the ad set level or the campaign level? So ad set level is working better for most of our campaigns. It's a smaller budget usually. It's more stable. It's more profitable than CBO at this point for most of our campaigns. Okay, so next question. So just on that, so is it CBO or ABO that's working, right? So for us, we recommend ABO, but look at the account and see what's working. Then this is really important. What are the budget sizes that are working at ABO and CBO for you? So something to consider is it 1x your target CPA? Is it 3x? Right? So for us, we do almost all of our testing with 1x CPA. So if we have a $60 target CPA, we spend $60 at the ad set budget to test an audience, right? Once that's working, we 3x it in some cases, and then it would be 180. So look at what's actually working for your business and for your campaign, and see what's the account structure. So is it CBO or ABO? And then what are the budget sizes at 1x CPA, target CPA, 3x target CPA, whatever the budget size that's working. Okay. Next is budget. So right now, a lot of people are making pretty big decisions when it comes to the type of budgets that are working in the business. So I'm just seeing Susan's message here. Yeah, so thanks, Wilco. ABO is ad set budget. CBO is campaign budget. So if there's any questions you guys have, definitely let me know. And Susan, if there are any abbreviations or anything that's not clear, definitely happy to help. So thank you for letting us know. So from a budget standpoint, you might say, you know what, I can only spend 1,000 a month right now, and that's my max, and that's it. We have other clients that are in an aggressive mode, and we have a client that is saying we're spending 400,000 a month right now, approximately 12,000 a day, and he's like, I want to spend even more because I know I can acquire these customers cheaper right now, and I'm okay with losing a little bit of profitability as long as I care more about volume because they have a back end. And so CPA is cost of acquisition. And Erhard, there is ABO. With ABO, with asset budgets, there is they are eventually going to get rid of it, but as far as I see, like, it's not stable enough, and there would create a lot of different challenges for media buyers, because a lot of people are still seeing a lot of success with ABO. So with ad set budgets. So a lot of people are asking questions around the abbreviations. So thank you, Sean. So ABO is ad set budget, CBO is campaign budget. So you can set budgets at the campaign level or the ad set level, right? And then CPA is cost per acquisition, and the 1x target CPA is that my example was, if you want to spend $60 for a sale, that's the cost per acquisition. We start budgets at 1x CPA, meaning $60 is the budget. Can you guys hear me?
I can still hear you, yeah.
Okay, some people were just mentioning that they were having some issues. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. So just budgets are how much, so the mindset is, how much do you want to spend on prospecting and how much do you want to spend on retargeting, just to make it crystal clear. So don't worry about top of funnel or middle of funnel. If you're doing cold ads, how much do you want to spend on cold and how much do you want to spend on retargeting? And so just make that decision in your business right now. And then this is a really, really big decision, because the type of clients that we work with are obsessively, insanely, irrationally focused on scale. They want to dominate their industries. They want to take over the world. They want to make sure every single person in their market knows their brands, loves their brand, and wants to try their brand, but also become an evangelist for their brand. That's their commitment. That's their vision. That's the path that they're on. So most of our clients are focused on scale, and that doesn't mean scale with like massive loss or scale with a loss, even that. It means aggressively focusing on scale instead of crazy high profit. So that's one mindset. The other mindset is, listen, I don't have a savings in my business or personally, whatever, for 6 months or 12 months. All I care about right now is I need to protect the health of my business. I need to protect the profitability of my business. And I'm committed to making sure that our business is healthy and that we're actually acquiring people in a very organic way, or whatever the case is, or very tactical way. I don't want to lose crazy amount of money. I care about protecting ROAS. And so these are two very different mindsets. One is, how do we focus on scale and obsessively focus on scale because we know we're going to make money 90 days from now, versus someone who's looking at, how much money did I spend today? How much money did I make today? How do I make sure that I don't lose any money that I don't need to lose? It's a very different mindset, okay? And so you have to decide in your business, which one are you, okay? Are you the person who's looking at this opportunity, figuring out how to get access to funding, figuring out how to dominate your market and get in front of hundreds of thousands or millions of people in your market per month? Because that's the potential here, especially with the CPMs decreasing. And that's what some of our clients are doing. They want even more aggressive scale because they know they're a subscription company, or they have backends and they're going to make a lot of money 45 days, 90 days from now. Or are you in the position of like, listen, Nahal, I need to protect my money. I need to protect profitability. I need to protect my business and my employees, my team, myself. And so I can't spend that much. And so I need to be focused on profit. So decide on what that is for you. And based off of that decision, where are you going to invest your time? Are you going to invest your time so this is very clear, on prospecting campaigns or retargeting? Okay, and this is important because for some businesses, they have a steady flow of customers, or they have other ways of getting customers, and they're fine. But and they can just focus on retargeting. But there's other businesses that they need to obsessively focus on getting new customers, or their business has a real problem because they don't have a back end. They just have one product, or they might not be doing lead generation, whatever the case is, and they need more customers. And so this is very important to decide. Do you want to spend your time on prospecting new customers, cold campaigns, or do you want to spend your time on retargeting? Okay, so again, these are the questions. Again, you're going to get access to this. Take a screenshot if you like. The important thing here is what are the questions you're asking yourselves? And if you look at these questions, this will help you prioritize what to do with media buying. Look at what we've done so far, and I know we're 45 minutes in here, so I'll speed up through the next couple. But if you look at what we've done so far, this is urgency. So how are you making decisions when it comes to urgency? Then when it comes to offer, what are the things that you're considering, and what's the main lever that you can pull in from an offer standpoint, which is primarily just changing the offer if it makes sense, or if there are specific avatars that are changing for you. Then from a media buying standpoint, here are all the decisions, and you'll see that the first thing is, if you're profitable, you'll make different decisions. If you're not profitable, there's different priorities. And you can ask these questions here. And so next are the creative decisions. So from a creative ad spend advertising standpoint, there is the copy as well as the image or video. And so what's working versus not. And so for some clients, honestly, everything stopped working. We saw a decrease of 100% ROAS or more for most of our clients. And so that's why we had the emergency meeting or meetings, because that's unacceptable. Like, that's a huge problem, and we just can't keep spending 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 a day when we're see that big of a drop. It has a significant impact on the clients. And so we had to hustle on changes we had to make for angles, creative, copy, everything. And this is the first one, which is, if your product is made in the USA, adding just like any kind of flag on it or any kind of visual cue. So we just had an image at the top left where we added made in USA, and that made a big difference. And so this is super important. So please don't take it lightly. This was the impact of that campaign. Just by adding all the made in USA stuff, we had a campaign. You could see it went to 20% with some of our campaigns. That's how much of the impact that we were having, and it went as much as 168%. The challenge with some of the creatives for anything related to COVID or Corona or changes in times is that it depends on how your market is reacting and how your market is actually feeling. Because if you if you think they're all about doom and gloom and they're not, then they won't react the way that you're expecting them to. And if you're the opposite and they are doom and gloom and your copy hasn't changed, it's a problem. So some of our ads had around pets, was around travel. And so all of our creatives are with your dog at the beach or on the airplane or at the airport, and all these different things, and all around travel. And so we had to change our copy because it just didn't make sense anymore. We have another product that is a sleep aid, and the sleep aid, a lot of the creatives had a person on an airplane as well, or some sort of traveling, and that obviously doesn't make sense as well. So just being conscious of that, just look through your ads again with that perspective and make sure that there's nothing that's kind of incongruent right now. Next is, this has been a huge one, especially if your product is structured or like ideal for this, which is, if your market stocks up, this is the time to get them to use the type of behavior and psychology that they have right now. Some people in some markets are panic buying, right? So if you're going to normally buy a probiotic, or if you're going to buy a immunity supplement, you're going to buy it for you usually, but now you might buy it for your whole family of four and get additional bottles just in case. Would you ever do that before? Not really, but today you would do that because you're just, there's a fear, right? So I know I've bought a lot of food, and I know there's like toilet paper stocking up and all of that. It's just, it's the reality of the market, and to ignore how people are buying, especially in your market, it's just, it's not a good business decision, because if they want to buy, give them the opportunity to buy, give them the incentive to buy, and if they want to stock up, let them stock up. Okay. So with pre-workout, that's something we tested for sure. And so with different types of products, that's something to consider in testing in your messaging. When it comes to making it relevant, like we have a child supplement that we're working with, and so just changing the messaging to starting the video ad with kids at home or homeschooling, or making it more relevant. Like, it sounds so simple. How could like 3 sentences or 3 words make that big of a difference? But it does. And so it's just, you have to test different angles, and just don't stop if the first one doesn't work. But the angles that or the expansion that we took on that was, protecting your family, or taking a stand, or now is the time. And the thing to consider is, a lot of our Facebook ad campaigns have actually stabilized from 2 weeks ago. It's almost as if Corona isn't happening. And it's so weird, because our campaigns took such a significant hit, and we went into crazy implementation mode, and then it basically like stopped. And it started like recovering. And I wish it was like, oh, it's just all of our actions are the only reason. And we did implement very quickly. Everything was changing every day. We launched maybe like 20, anywhere between 10 to 20 creative per client in the last week, and 2 weeks or so. We have been doing a lot of emergency meetings and internal strategy meetings, and more higher level conversations. But the reality is, like, that has way less, all of that, to do with people just feeling better about a stimulus check, as well as realizing that they're safe and sound, and that they're going to be home, and they just have more time. And so everything we're talking about are very important to the decisions, like implementation, that you're making. But my point is that there's a lot of factors that you don't control. And some of those factors that we don't control are like human sentiment and how people are feeling. So that's just something to keep in mind. Next is just staying away from very direct messaging on immunity, or protecting, boosting your immune system and things like that. If you guys do have products like that, Facebook's just looking down on that. And then, of course, don't use any COVID or Corona or even flu in your copy. But we're going as far as not to use it even in messaging, in the actual ads manager. So we noticed that these types of campaigns, the way that we had them set up, even we launched one campaign that did have that messaging as a brain fart, and the delay on that specific campaign approval was so much longer, and so I would just make sure, like, just stay away from it, and we're doing our best to not even put it on landing pages. So just something to keep in mind. And then the last one is our business decisions, basically. So the business decision is like a big one that a lot of people are making right now, are if you actually shut down. And this is a big problem. So there's some questions actually that are coming in. So Brian's asking, why not use COVID in the copy? So it is the fastest way to get your copy disapproved and potentially your ad account disabled. So it's very important. Like, please don't use COVID, Corona, any of that in the copy. It's definitely a big problem. So and then, of course, like anything around masks and cures to Corona, or as far as sanitizers, I've heard are a problem. So Joanne's asking, did you say 10 to 20 new creatives per client? Yeah, so we create like a concept, and we create variations, like 2 to 4 variations per concept, as well as we've created many different concepts per client. So we had to rapid fire, like blitz, launch new creatives just to see what works. And so we had to do that out of necessity. Yeah. And so, Helen, I'd love to answer that question here shortly for you. Um, so yeah, so discount codes, yeah, as long as you stay away from the actual messaging of Corona. Um, so yeah, so Ryan's asking, in terms of boosting immunity, like I would look at some of the bigger brands on immunity products and see specific ways that that they're using it. We have an immunity product right now. The issue is they won't ban the account, but from what people are saying is that there is a throttling of the account, so a throttling of those creatives. So we're definitely seeing it. We have a lot of like yo-yo ROAS happening, especially in the early stages, like 2 weeks ago. Now it's a lot more stable, but it's more so around health and more around protection and strength and being resilient, and like, you know, synonyms to immunity and like complementary words to immunity, Ryan, instead of immediate, like directly saying boost your immunity. And then of course, like using you and your frequently in an ad will create challenges as well. So just be, you know, uh, just have that in mind. So yeah, so Remy's asking if your business is like a bar, restaurant, music venue, has no other choice. So I mean, it's really dependent on the business. Like there's a lot of businesses that are doing curbside pickups and doing deliveries. There are ways to take advantage of that. I would have to understand like what specific business it is. So you know, we can go deeper into that here shortly as we get into the Q&A. But just the last point here is, in terms of big decisions right now from a business standpoint, is like there's a lot of people who are focusing on if they actually shut down right now. A big decision is like where your team works. For a lot of us, like it's not a big deal. Like, you know, we are very blessed in the sense of nothing has changed work-wise, or very little has. And so it's almost like business as usual. But for a lot of businesses, it's way bigger decision. Something that we're seeing, and a big opportunity, is how you handle your customer service from a messaging standpoint as well as offer standpoint. So we're getting some really good indicators of what people are thinking about and what people are concerned about. So the idea of Made in USA actually came from one of our clients, because in basically like a 36-hour period, they had like 20 different customer service requests asking, is the product made in USA? And so we're like, wow, that is very quick. And this is like 3 weeks ago. Now it might be like obvious of like, okay, you know, stuff is happening with shipping and everything's in lockdown, and depending on what state you're in or country you're in. But you know, how you pay attention to your customer service and how you react is very important. What you focus on. So I gave you a bunch of tools above on like what you actually focus on and what you can control. There's a lot, like we don't control human sentiment, and we don't control how significant the lockdowns are, or how long quarantines are, or you know, how many cases there are. Like there's a lot of things that, you know, for me, for example, I was very surprised that there's 1 million cases plus now, but as soon as 1 million cases happened, like there was no change in customer behavior. My feed wasn't flooded with anything around 1 million cases. It was like as if nothing happened. And so, you know, it's just important to focus on like what you can control instead of human sentiment that you can't, and then offers that you're making. So this is what I want to finish off with, which is now is the time to lead. This is a very important time, because from a business standpoint, you can make a lot of money right now in the next 90 days. You know, we're going into a very difficult time, unprecedented time, and there is so much uncertainty of what's going to happen, but you decide what you're focusing on, and you decide at a strategic level, business wise, what decisions you want to make, what direction you want to go into, what markets that are important to you, or what you actually work on. And so basically the thing I want to leave you with is, you decide how to act right now. You decide if you're proactive or reactive. You decide in your company, if you have a team, if you lead or follow, or even for your family, you decide if you're going to be a victim to what's going on right now versus or something you can't control, in terms of like being a victim to that, or if you're going to lead. And you decide when your family or your team, your customers are looking at you and how you are reacting in that situation. So, the time is now, and like look at the information you do have, look at the data that you do have, look at what you can control and lead. And so now is the time to lead, and now is the time to show up. So thank you so much for having me on here, and we will move on to Q&A here. So if you have a question, please leave it in the chat. Wilco, I don't know if you want to jump in here at all.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it a lot, and I know that a lot of you are going to get some takeaways. Have been taking some takeaways from this. Obviously, like we got various people here on the call. We got people who are starting with Facebook ads. We got people who have been running ads for a while. And I think for all of you, there's been some really good stuff. Like there's been in-depth things, but also like some like even the little things that you mentioned. Like for example, adding the word "from the USA," which essentially means like looking at the market and like, what are new objectives that people have right now that they didn't have before? Hey, an objection is like, I don't want to buy from China. Hey, add the words "from USA." It's like little things, but it's like very practical to implement. And there's like a bunch of things. Obviously, again, the replay is going to be in the dashboard. So thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. I had a good call, and there's going to be questions for sure. While people are dropping questions, I actually got a question for you. No, actually, let's jump into Q&A first. Let's see what are the questions.
Yeah, there's a bunch coming in.
Do you want to pick them yourself, or you want me to pick some?
Yeah, I mean, I see the questions are all over the place. I think, especially if there is a question you guys have on your campaigns right now, or any of the things that we talked about of the biggest levers to focus on, or the 5 decisions, I can go back to that. Give me 1 second here. And we can talk about any of these that you want. So one of the questions is about what's the best way to scale the ads that are working? Do you still duplicate them in a CBO campaign, or how do you scale right now? So it's funny that you say that. So we're actually going through a process of writing out all the different ways that we are scaling right now. And there are many different ways to scale. I'm actually going to give you guys something that Wilco doesn't actually know about. So I will share this with you guys as a bonus, just because the question is awesome. So there's a couple things to consider. One is, what are the ways that you're actually scaling now? Because what we were talking about is, if you go to the media buying section, let me go. So this is really important when it comes to account structure, right? So what is actually working? Every account is different. So I can tell you what's working for us, but for you, like, what is it that's working? So for us, it's ABO that's working primarily if we're spending less than $1,000 a day. And we do our best to stay around ABO. And the way that we scale is we test our campaigns at 1x. So ABO, again, is ad set budget. So the example was, if you want to spend $60 to get a customer. Now, budgets might be 1x that, so it's just $60. The way that we scale is take winning interest and increase their total budget size by 2x or 3x. We prefer 3x because it's still stable, it's already proven itself, and ideally we graduate it after 3 days, right? So the way that we're talking about scaling right now, and this is a whole presentation in itself, but the point is, you have 1x your target. So you start with $60 per day. If it's working, then you're creating a new, you can duplicate it if you want. We prefer to increase, like to create a new ad set and duplicate that basically and change it directly to 3x, you're not changing the same ad set to 3x. It's going to go into learning stage, and it's going to sometimes like mess up the optimization. And so what you want to do is 3x the campaign. So if that is working, that's what we recommend. The other thing to consider, and I'll post this, this is something that has really influenced a lot of how we're scaling campaigns past $1,000 a day. And so if you're already spending, even if it's $500 a day, most of our accounts have, or most of our clients have 2 to 7 different ad accounts now. Why do we do that? The reason we do that is because we want stability, because if an ad account starts, messes up one day or really underperforms, then that, hurts the whole day and hurts the whole business right away. So instead, we have multiple ad accounts, and this is more advanced. So if you're not spending a lot of money right now, like just understand like the theory behind it. You won't be able to implement it yet, but the goal is we have cruise control accounts, and we have different elements we look at for what you can optimize for when it comes to scaling. And the stack that I recommend is stack 5. And so you guys can, I'm going to post this link in the chat. And again, this is for more complex scaling. But I just wanted to share this with you guys for people who are scaling and who want to do set and forget campaigns. Maybe we can do another training on that. But the goal here is there is campaign DNA. There are elements of a campaign structure that you control, and then you can go and create different combinations. We call them stacks, and my recommendation is stack 5. That was a very long answer. Sorry, welcome.
Well, good answer.
Cool. You have a
Awesome.
question?
Let me pick a question from that we haven't answered yet. So Krista's asking, what if you're spending more than $1,000 a day? Would you still do ABO?
So it depends on average order value. So there are average order values. So the average order value is how much money does the person spend on the website or on a transaction. So if you're selling an information product versus like a Shopify product, whatever the case is, there's versus an agency, like every person spends an average amount, right? So the average order value makes a big difference, because if your average order value is like $100 or more, or if your target CPA is like $100 or more, it changes a lot of things because your budget sizes could be so much higher, right? So the way that we look at it is if you're doing like 5x of your target cost, so if it's $100, you do that times 5, so it's $500. If an ad set is $500, like that's a lot of room for it to work in and still be profitable and still have room to like mess up sometimes or still be, like hit metrics. So, and you can have multiple of those $500 budgets and still be fine. So if you, in comparison, if you have a $20 average order value, it changes a lot because you'll see way bigger swings. And so I know other people have very different mindsets on this, but ours is that we just can't afford crazy swings like that. And we prefer to be a lot more in control. So that's why we prefer ABO. Like even under 1,000, above 1,000, we're still doing ABO, but we have a lot more CBO campaigns in there. The reality is that CBO campaigns just aren't as successful for us as ABO. So we're testing a lot.
Awesome. And I'm just jumping straight in the next question. I got a question here from Jeremy. Next, Arturo asked a similar question. So how long do you run the test? You mentioned you do 1x, you spend 1x of your CPA. How long do you let it run before you kill it, before you decide it's not working? A couple of people are asking that.
Okay, so testing. So I just want to make sure that like this is clear because it can get complicated sometimes. So it's ABO, so 1x target like cost per acquisition. So example is $60. And then depending on what makes sense for you, you might use this in a way that you're actually like graduating winners, right? So you're graduating winners, so like the winning ad sets. So for example, your target 60 and you get a couple that are like $40. And so CPA, so that's like a winner, right? $60 is a winner, but $40 is like a great winner. So you can wait minimum 2 days, ideally like 3 days, and it depends on how quickly you want to scale. So if we see any like of our targeting tests, I just want to make sure like this is just targeting, testing just targeting. This is not testing creative. So we're just testing targeting, so we're testing interest. And so you have access to a lot of different tools, and one of them being the interest tool on finding a lot of different targets. And so you'll know the type of structure that might be working for you or a budget type that's working, all of that. So it's like you're testing your just a target and just an interest or just a lookalike. And if you see that lookalike instead of $60 is 40 or 30, like I don't need to wait longer for that to work. If you're in ROAS protection mode, so it's like scaling mode versus ROAS protection mode. And so it's a very different mindset. And so if we see 40, even 60, we're ready. We're going to graduate it to the next level. And that might be the 3x target cost of acquisition. So it'd be 60 times 3. And so why do we do that? Because we've seen that like our campaigns, campaigns work best for $200 to $300 per day budgets. I don't know why. Like it should work better even if your average order value is higher. But even with like target CPAs of $50 or even like $100 target CPAs, like we still see $300 budgets work better, or for the most part. Of course, there's exceptions, but that's what we try to like usually fit into. And then from here, you can you decide how you want to scale based off of what is actually working, right? So you can duplicate the same ABO, assuming audience is big. And so big might be like 5 million plus, because if it gets smaller than that and you're spending $180 per day and now you have 2 or 3 duplicates, like it's not a good idea. Like you can duplicate it. Or what we have been doing in the past is we actually graduate it to CVO, and it's based off of lowest cost. So like what we have been doing has been CVO primarily. So this graduation from like ABO didn't used to go to 3x ABO. It used to go to CVO. But this is just the reality of what we're seeing. And at this level, you can actually go higher. So this is 5x of your target cost per acquisition. So anyone who is looking at who's like earlier in Facebook ads, is not spending or spending a little bit of money, like please don't zone out during this time. This is very important because you might be looking at this and you're looking at, well, I don't spend that much money or I don't plan on spending that much money. It's not about that. I learned from people spending $50,000, $100,000 a day too, even if they're doing black hat stuff or weird stuff that's in different platforms, just because I want to see how people think. So the learning here is not about just technical, it's about how people are thinking. And the reason I learn from people in other industries, even things that I don't agree with or don't like, is because I want to see what they're actually doing day to day and how they're operating, because maybe I can learn something from that.
Cool, awesome. And yeah, someone's asking like, hey, when you're scaling to 3x, like you will kill the original 1x ad set. I assume you pause that, right?
So it depends. Like what we've seen is that we keep running it until it stops working. Like I don't want to stop anything that's not working. Like if it's working, it's not broken. And so it just depends on how your campaign reacts. We prefer not to. So.
Cool. And this is that question from Mark. He said, what words to leverage or avoid for e-com supplements like diabetes? Is there anything in specifically that you want to leverage or avoid?
Oh, yeah. So,
area.
yeah, so don't mention diabetes, for sure. That space is very tricky. Like I haven't tested ads there, so I can't talk about messaging around insulin levels or anything like that. What I would say is focus on like the actual symptom and not the actual root cause, because the root cause is usually scientific or not compliant. And so when you're talking about symptoms of how they're feeling or energy levels or performance, depending on the type of person you're talking to, or how they want to spend time with their grandkids, things like that. That is, it's easier to use like those emotional cues instead of like scientific or pure objective like science, like technical copy. So I would just stay away from technical copy. It just affects compliance.
Oh, Sagar is asking a good question. Is like ABO is going away, right? Yes, it's going
Yeah.
away. What's your strategy for CBO now that now that ABO is actually working best for you?
My strategy with ABO is to use ABO until they kick me out. So until they tell me I can't do it anymore. That's honestly the strategy. And the reason is because as soon as CBO came out, like, I don't know, maybe a year ago or something like that, we went into the mode of like, we're going to dominate this. We're going to learn every element of it. I'm going to learn lowest cost bid cap, cost cap, target cost. I'm going to understand all the bidding structures, and we're going to use automated rules. We're going to look at same day scaling. We're going to look at everything that works. And then what started happening is that it stopped working. And so when it stops working, then I don't care about it, and so I don't want to be ignorant to it. But the reality is, like, if ABO is working, I'm going to use it until it breaks. I'm going to use it until it doesn't work for me anymore, until Zuckerberg says I can't anymore. So that's the mindset. And when it comes to CBO, that's why we still have CBO campaigns, because I think to ignore CBO is not a good media buying decision. We still have to crack it, and we still have to figure out how to use it for the future of Facebook ads. But it's just not the winner right now for most of our campaigns. Other people live and die by it. So.
All right. I actually got a question actually on behalf. I've seen various people ask questions that are very related to this. So I want to ask this question on behalf of my clients, because obviously, like, some people like you and me, like, we're running ads, we're familiar with it. But there's also people who, they have a business, they have a website, they're selling something, but they haven't got any meaningful results with Facebook ads, right? So let's say you get a client and you get someone in, and they're saying like, hey, I'm selling a certain product or a service. I want to leverage Facebook ads, but like, there's so many things I need to figure out, because like we're talking about, figuring out what your targeting is, figuring out
Yeah.
what creates you, figuring out your funnel. Like, if you were to take someone by the hand, like, what are the steps that you would walk someone through to get them from not knowing anything to the point where you actually get results? I would like to get different kind of insights on that. Everyone has a different way of doing that. So what's your way you would recommend someone to go through that journey?
Yeah, that's a really important question, and that's like it's an underlying question of what do you actually focus on? And so the first thing that we focus on is the offer, because the offer, especially right now with everything going on, it changes fundamentally of what is it that you're focusing on. What is, like, if you have the best Facebook ad skill, the best creative, the best copy, but if the offer is not right, or if the offer isn't what people care about right now, it won't convert. Your campaigns won't work. It has nothing to do with any of your other elements. Then after that, we focus on avatar. And that makes a difference because I was mentioning the audience of moms. And so there are types of moms that are receptive and open and can be persuaded to a type of product. There's other moms that are very skeptical about a specific type of product. And so if you had an option of, do you want to market to the skeptical mom, or do you want to market to the receptive mom? The answer is so easy, Then we go through the funnel. And so instead of creating a magical funnel or anything that's like super complex, it's way easier just to model people already in your space instead of innovate. It doesn't make sense to innovate on that. Then you look at nurturing, and nurturing could be emails and stuff like that, but that's not the initial stage. And I'm going in this process on purpose. Then there is the ad. And that's exactly what you actually say in the ad is ad optimization and tracking. And so let me walk you through, like, if I were to start from scratch, I'm actually starting from scratch in a couple of different campaigns right now. So I'm right here with you guys. And, the first thing that we focus on is the offer. And especially if you're looking at what type of market to go in or what type of thing to promote, that's the first thing that we look at. And then we look at the avatar. And then as I mentioned, it's like, don't go crazy over innovating the funnel. After that is working on the ad based off of what you know about the offer and the avatar. Then you can worry about the ad optimization. Then you can worry about what is actually going on in my campaign, and then start this process again and analyze and make adjustments. And so the problem that I see for most beginner media buyers is they focus so aggressively on ad optimization. They'll get 50 to 100 clicks to their website, or spend like $20 or $100, and they won't get a sale, and they'll say, I didn't get any add to carts, or I didn't get a purchase. What should I do? And I think the underlying issue, or the fundamental issue, is it the right offer? Is it already something that's converting? Because I don't want to create or innovate on an offer either. I just go and find stuff that's already working. If you look at most of the clients that we work with, they already have momentum, we scale them. But if you're starting from scratch, look at offers that are already converting, look at the type of avatars that they might be marketing to that are already converting, look at their ads, because you have access to the ads library to see that, and then you can look at ad optimization. Then you can look at funnel and nurturing, and you can look at tracking. But start with offer and avatar, and everything will become so much easier.
Oh, good answer. Good answer. Someone's asking, can you have multiple avatars? Well, it's sort of like a blend, right? It's more like someone's also asking, like, do you need a tool for that? Like a piece of paper would do for that most of the time.
Yeah, for sure. So like that is, you don't need a tool per se, but I would do like research, right? But and there's like a degree of common sense. So I just want to show you very quickly, like for the mom product, like we just brought this company on. They do $10 million a year. They only spend about like $25,000 a month. In their space, it's not a lot of money because they spend like $1 million a year on influencers, and they have many different prospects. And so the issue that we saw is that there's 3 types of nuances that were very important. Is this a proactive purchase versus a reactive one? Meaning, in their space, is this something that they're looking at to prevent, or did their child get sick and they're looking to take care of them? Is this an evergreen offer versus a seasonal offer? And for your business, you might say that I only want to go after seasonal offers right now, or something that's super hot, because I need to make money and I need to make it now, and that's fine. Like that's a business decision. But for us, like we're trying to scale them from $25,000 to $100,000 a month in ad spend, and our goal is in 90 days. So we're trying to figure out what decisions to make. So I don't want to run seasonal offers for them, because we know that the AOV, like average order value, how much someone spends on the site for a seasonal offer, is so much less than a person who spends on an evergreen offer. Okay. And then, do I want to market to a receptive mom versus a skeptical mom? I'm just giving you an example from a client that we're working with right now, just so you can see practically like what this looks like. Now, this has nothing to do with Facebook ads, right? Like you have to make this decision at the avatar level and offer level, because if we want to market to the proactive mom with the evergreen product, right, and who is receptive, meaning they are in a buying frenzy, they're the mom who are pregnant right now or just had their kids, so there's like this stage where they're just going to buy everything under the sun, whereas the mom who has an 8-year-old might not be as open to that. It's just different. Like that, it leads to the highest, for us, highest lifetime value plus highest average order value on first-time purchase. So if they come to the website and they spend the most amount of money with us to start, and that's the type of mom who's going to spend the most amount of money with us in the future, that's the mom I want to market to. That's what's going to allow us to go from $25,000 per month to $100,000, and then we can combine that with a bundle for that specific business, right? So this is something to consider, and this only happens if you go deep enough in your market. And so they have 5 different types of avatars. We're going to ignore 3. We don't want to market to everyone. We want to market to a very specific type of person. So hopefully that answers the question.
Good stuff. Awesome. All right, a couple more questions, because I do know that you have to head out in a little bit. So someone's asking, what if you run an answer something for, what's the question now? jumped away. But essentially, the question was, what if your business, like a bar, restaurant, or music venue, has no other choice to shut down or really limited ways to trickle some money in? Well, I can answer that one. I'd say,
Yeah.
like, if it really, like, if you're a restaurant, then I'd say it's not about making a profit right now. It's about surviving, and you need to pivot into what that could be. Like, for example, we got some restaurants here in the local area. They actually deliver it to your home, or you can or actually pick it up as well. In terms, like, I would not start targeting cold audience for that, because most likely it will be hard to make a good ROAS on that. But definitely start with your existing customers who've, like, if you have a way to actually get a hold of them and in your local area, that's where that could be an opportunity. But again, it's more about it's not always about that profit phase if you like your restaurant and your actual restaurant has
Yeah.
closed. Any insights on that?
Yeah, this is the time to do whatever it takes. And so exactly what you're saying, this is like survival. And so if you're not, if you're thriving or doing like good, then this is like very different mindset. So like the person who's trying to figure out, how do I pay rent? How do I like not file bankruptcy? Like what do I do with the cash that I do have? It's a very, very different mindset. And so it all comes down to creativity. And there's a lot of creative solutions going on with curbside pickup, with different types of delivery options, with people doing like QVC style, like taking advantage of their personal Facebook and Facebook pages and Instagram and going live and showing showrooms of what I'm hearing, and as well as doing cool promotions, different types of offers completely, different like stock up bundles. Like I'm doing this with a coffee shop I really like here. We're ordering like stock, like to stock up, just so I can support them, as well as like, you know, I want their coffee, I like their specific brand, and so I can still have that. And so I think now is the time to get very, very creative when it comes to that.
Exactly. One last question. This one is from Eric. He's asking, so let's say you're running ads on multiple channels, like you got to retargeting ads outside of Facebook as well. How do you actually make sure conversion actually coming from Facebook? Like if you're running it for a client, like personally, I use Wicked reports for that. There's obviously other ways as well. What do you use to track like where a sale actually came from? Like if people are coming up from multiple channels, maybe someone clicked on Facebook first, then on Google Ads. How do you work with that with your clients, and how do you do that attribution?
Yeah, so we have most of our clients are primarily Facebook, so it changes that. It depends on how many traffic sources you have. So that's like number one. So if you have multiple traffic sources, like with one of our clients, we're spending 120, 130,000 on Facebook per month, and then their Google Ads is 10 to 15,000. So we're spending, you know, almost 10x. Like I know like where most sales are coming in, and then also like attribution isn't as big of a problem, unless if we were spending 100 on Facebook and 100 on AdWords. It would change the dynamic. Or, you know, 5,000 on AdWords, 5,000 on Facebook. Like how you track changes a lot, you know. So for us, we've looked at a lot of different tools, and almost always, we haven't gone deep enough with Wicked, but with most tools, it has been a colossal waste of time. It has created like a lot of confusion and frustration, and usually leads to indecision or inaction. And so for us, like we look at attribution from a Facebook ad standpoint. We collect different metrics. So I'll show you, and I can give you a breakdown. I can show you this example. But when we're collecting, cool. So when we're looking at data, we're looking at what is actually going on Facebook and what is going on in real life, or what is going on like ROAS wise on Facebook versus what is going on store wide ROAS. So it just depends on what the normal gap is, and as we spend more money, we can see more of that. And so I wish I had a really good, like super smart answer to like attribution. Attribution is very complex, and I think I've had hundreds of hours of conversations on attribution, and almost always it doesn't lead to like an answer where I feel like I've made progress or I'm able to make better decisions. I look at Facebook data, and then I reconcile it with real life data, and then I have to make decisions that are close enough. There's a lot of tools that help with that. I haven't found most of them to be good enough to the point where I feel really confident about my decisions.
Oh, are you running ads for real estate as well, or you're not in that market at all?
I'm not in that market. So it's nationwide campaigns, mostly lead generation, webinar, like lead generation and webinar is like some of the stuff we used to do. We're doing more of it now with like some of the affiliate sides that we're doing, but with our core business, like agency wise, we do physical products that's like direct sale.
Cool. All right. We've got a question whether for real estate you would suggest running a conversion campaign or direct lead generation campaign in this climate.
Yeah.
I would say test it out. It's
Yeah.
worth it.
Yeah, so especially right now, like when it comes to the type of funnel you have, like optimizing for leads is fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think there are specific events that you can, give data to Facebook just so you can reconcile after and get an idea of what might be going on with offline conversions if you have meaningful enough data. But really, optimizing for a lead is like the solution, and yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I do know, again, you are on a clock, so I don't wanna keep you too long. I do know that we didn't get to all questions. There's been a lot of people. I do want to thank everyone for being here because we got right now, still 200 people, but we had around 250 earlier on. Really, really cool. Is there anything else that you feel like any last words of wisdom that you can give to our audience that would make a change in their day?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're a media buyer right now, these are the core questions to ask yourself to make the biggest decisions from a Facebook ad standpoint. This is a process that you can go with like if you're just a media buyer or if you have a team, ask these questions so you can get laser focused on what to actually invest your time, energy, money, resources on, and then ignore everything else. Because we were talking about different avatars. Notice that I'm focusing on a very specific type of avatar because I'm asking higher quality questions. I'm ignoring the other three other types of avatars that I mentioned so that I could focus on the two that are going to be the highest average order value for the first transaction, highest LTV, and for the ones that are ideally going to be the best type of customers for us. And so these are questions on your end that you can implement right now. So not only that you can increase your profitability, but also focus on scale and take advantage of this time. You can definitely be aggressive at this time and get market share in your space. There's a lot of people who are retreating. There's a lot of people who are mentally checking out. They're going on vacation mentally and don't care about aggressively growing their business. So if that's you right now and you want to come out of this on top and you want to come out of this with a lot of momentum, these are some of the questions from a media buying standpoint to implement right now.
Exactly. I could not agree more. Like the way I look at it, again, there's businesses, industries that have a hard time, but if you are doing well right now, it's actually I would say a once in a lifetime opportunity for the next couple of years. Because with chaos and with a lot of change in the world, it also creates a lot of opportunity, both on Facebook, but outside of it as well, obviously. I mean, it's the reason why companies like Airbnb got founded during the last crisis, right? Awesome. Good question. How come you are not friends with Wilco on your Facebook and LinkedIn? I actually don't know. Like the last time I checked my LinkedIn, it must be like I never ever use it. And Facebook, I don't know. Like I don't really
we
use
are friends.
my ads manager.
Ryan, you got to check your investigation skills, man. We're friends on Facebook.
we're officially friends.
There you go. There you go.
So thanks a lot for your time here, sharing that knowledge with our audience. I know some questions have been answered, but we obviously had to make the most out of the time that we have here. And yes, for all of you, yes, we're adding all the resources to your dashboard tomorrow. That means the replay of this call plus everything that he just showed, the slides, all that will be there as well for you to go through. And yeah, I really want to thank you, man. It's been a great time. I really appreciate your time, and hope you keep crushing it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Awesome, man. Thanks a lot. All right. Feel free to leave. Can I just spend a couple more minutes? I just want to make sure that everyone is happy. And let me just, I'm getting used to Webinar Jam. I'm not using it enough. I'm trying to How do I? All right, cool. Um, awesome. That was good. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. And again, I'll add the replay and everything to the dashboard tomorrow, including the PDF. So hopefully you all had a great time. And just checking the chat, there is a lot. Quick one. Do you know if there's a limit to the size of the account that needs to be met? I'm not sure what you mean with the limit of your account. There is a limit for how many campaigns you can create, but that limit is so high you won't run into it for now. So glad you liked it, Julie. Really appreciate that. Mark, Artur, Owen, like, I'm just here to serve, just trying to help you all get more results from your Facebook ads, because I really mean it. Like right now, again, some industries it is tough. Some industries it's hard. If you're like a local restaurant, I totally get that. But if you have a business that can still operate, you're an online kind of business. Right now, I really believe it is a major opportunity, because whenever there's a lot of chaos and change in the world, like supply and demand, suddenly there's not a good gap. Like there's a disconnect, right? And that means that there's demand for certain things. There's no supply for it, right? So sometimes it just means to pivot our message. And just a simple example, for example, like we're doing a webinar right now. Like you've been on a webinar before, most likely, but we are not normal. Like most people have never done a webinar. Like most people up until a couple of weeks ago, they don't know what Zoom is, for example. Right now, even my mother knows what Zoom is, right? So all of a sudden, like even things like that, webinars, like even though they've been around for years and years and years, there were still a lot of people who never used, like never, like a webinar like that, that's weird. Like we're still, even probably you and I, we all know about webinars, but a lot of people didn't, right? And now all of a sudden, like boom, everyone knows about it, and it's like a normal thing. So even like things like that, like boom, there's an opportunity there. Maybe there's like a friend of mine actually running a business based on webinars, and he's been doing a lot better simply because of this change. Oh yeah, so someone's asking for where it will actually be shown in the actual dashboard. Let me just actually log into my Connectio account. So as I show you where you'll be able to find it tomorrow. Where is that? There we go. So you should be able to see my screen right now. So tomorrow, if you go to your learning center and then go inside the inner circle, right? This is where I keep these calls. We've done a couple of them before. And tomorrow here will be a third link. I'll also send you all an email with the current replay and the resources as well. So you'll be able to get that obviously as long as you're a member of Connect Suite. All right. So yeah, I would say it's been an hour and a half, so I'm assuming that all of you, well, there's no need, you probably won't be going anywhere, because obviously we'll have to stay at home wherever we're on the world. Anthony's asking one last question before we close it down. Can you have the Facebook pixel and a Google pixel on the same sales funnel, like for example, like ClickFunnels? Yes, you can. There's no problem with that at all. Like there's no mix-up. Like we actually do that as well. On every page we have like the Google and the Facebook pixel. Now, obviously, if you're listening and you like you're trying to get started with Facebook ads, I wouldn't start running Google ads and Facebook ads at the same time. Like do one first, scale one up. Like it took me a couple of years before I started doing the second one, right? Both work really, really well, but I wouldn't try to learn both at the same time, because they're both very different, right? But yes, if you're ready to run Google ads and Facebook ads, both pixels, you can just add them on the same page. There's no problem with that whatsoever. And some of the Joanne, like there's no power editing anymore. That video has not been updated, but it doesn't, like if you create a lead ad from your Facebook Ads Manager, you can just then after go into Connect Leads and connect it to your lead form. We'll be updating those videos soon as well. Cool. There's a lot, like there's still a lot of questions going on. I wish I could answer everyone. All right, Jit, I'll get that to the team as well. How to join Connect? Actually, the weird thing is like we don't officially have it on our main website. However, like we did a up until today, it's actually closed now. We had a trial where you can join, but if you're on this call, you should actually already have Connect Suite. So all good with that. Otherwise, you would not have been invited here. Uh, yes, you can still use a viral as well. Have you used Facebook comments to Messenger? I haven't used it for a while. I've used it in the past, not recently. To be honest, Facebook Messenger is not what it used to be, simply because like it was a long way coming. Like initially, Facebook was like, "Hey, you can get Facebook Messenger subscribers, and you can send them free messages, right?" And now, obviously, if you actually want to send messages to your audience outside the 1 day period, you actually have to pay for it. So first, you pay to get people subscribed to your Messenger, and then you have to pay again to send them a message. And that's why, personally, my main focus is getting people's email address first. Like that's why obviously we have a viral, and a lot of our campaigns, our Facebook ad campaigns, also like it's targeted to get people's email address instead of focusing on getting someone on Facebook Messenger. Because the way I look at it is like it's crazy to first pay someone to get them to your subscribe, then you have to keep on paying to send them a message. Whereas email, you're actually on. So hopefully that answers your question. I do need to get a glass of water. Even though I didn't speak much during this call, my throat is dry. So again, hopefully you're all doing amazing. Thank you all for being here. Really do appreciate it. It's great to John. Yes, you can. I don't do personal ad account reviews, unfortunately. Can you use other platforms with your software? Yes, you can. There's so many questions. All right. So obviously, as always, we for all of you, like if you have any questions, feel free to mail support@connectio.io as well for any technical questions about how to use our software. And obviously, we'll do more of these calls in the future as well. I'm thinking of maybe doing some Q&A sessions as well, which is just dedicated as like an office hour time. So you might get an invite for that as well. Again, that's for all of our Connect Suite customers. So again, hope you're all doing amazing. Stay safe and stay inside. Listen to whatever your government is saying, but most of all, like see the opportunity. Like don't follow the news too much. I literally shut down the news and just focused on the positive things in life, and that made my mind like. And I see there's so much opportunity right now. So if you're worried, try to shut up the news. That's my personal tip. And I hope you all have an amazing day. Thank you, everyone.